This is it, people, the 1.0 of V-Rising is here. In this video I will list everything that I can think of that is new now that the full game is out. And as I've been part of the beta test and have been given access to the 1.0 build a few days early, I've seen most of this stuff in action and have been able to record footage of it. A massive thank you to Stunlock for allowing me to do that. So, if you played the game in early access and wonder if it's worth returning to, or if you haven't played it at all yet and wonder if this might be something for you, hopefully this video has all the information you need. Let's begin with the big one. There's a new area called the Ruins of Mordium that is home to a new type of enemy called Draculin. With them comes the new Draculin blood type. This gives you better movement speed during nighttime, damage bonus to enemies below 30% health, increased healing received from blood mend, and gives you an additional bite charge, which also heals you if you kill an enemy by biting. As you might have guessed by the name, these new enemies are the servants of Dracula, who happens to be the new final boss of V-Rising. And with the new late game area, we'll also get a new tier of gear along with a new max gear level of 91. And Dracula is not the only new boss coming to the game. We have quite a few new V-Blood bosses that we can hunt. I won't name and show all of them here because I think it'll be a real joy for you to find them, and you'll be able to find them in all acts of the game. So it's not that they've just added bosses in the end game. Once again, the areas that already existed before this update have been shown a lot of love as well. One boss I will tell you about, however, is the brand new wandering vampire hunter straight out of Castlevania, Simon Belmont. As you've probably seen from trailers already, this guy is in the game, which is really cool, and he is not nice to vampires. You've been warned. Before we move away from the Ruins of Mordium, we need to talk about the new dynamic events, the Rifts. As you progress in the game, you'll be able to construct the Eye of Mordium. Once you have it, you'll be able to see timers on your screen and markers on your map showing when and where these Rifts events will occur. Go there and you will find large groups of enemies that you need to defeat. Once you defeat all of them, a Rift boss will spawn. Defeat it and you'll be able to get juicy loot and a new item called the Stygian Shards. What are these Stygian Shards for, you wonder? Well, as luck would have it, you can use them in the next thing on this list. The Stygian Summoning Circle. Say that 10 times in a row without twisting your tongue. I tried. I failed. By using these Stygian Shards and other materials in this structure, you can summon certain enemies into your castle. Defeat them and you will get certain loot. There's one enemy that's guaranteed to drop seeds. One is guaranteed to drop a certain number of books for the study, one will drop gems. The little time I've spent with it, it feels like I haven't been able to get loot that's very exciting, and summoning one of these creatures costs quite a lot of these Stygian Shards. But I really like the core idea of a way to cut corners when it comes to grinding for certain materials. So a nice new feature, but I would personally like to see some tuning on the rewards. When we wander the world of Verdoran, chances are that we'll run into these traveling carts full of cargo. These will randomly spawn and travel from a certain location to another. If you're the first vampire to come across one, you can kill the guards and break it open for a bunch of useful stuff. I absolutely love these things, and I hope that they will become an interesting point of contention on PvP servers. Another new thing is the spider form. By acquiring this shape-shifting ability, we'll be able to transform into a spider that can burrow itself down underground and hide away from the prying eyes of those around us. One thing that I've been asking for since the beginning of early access is more armor variety. Different armors that are better suited for different things, and that is exactly what we get. From the Night Stalker tier and onwards, we'll be able to craft new pieces of armor sets. Each of these pieces have certain stats unique to the type of set it belongs to, and if you equip an entire armor set, you will unlock more bonuses. For example, you'll be able to turn your Hollowfang armor into Duskwatcher armor, among others. Each individual piece will give you more health and more physical crit chance, but if you equip 2 pieces of the set, you'll get increased movement speed as well. 3 pieces equipped gets you another gear level, while equipping the entire set increases physical crit damage as well. So if you're able to turn your armor pieces into an entire set of one of these special armors, it's absolutely worth it. And if you like the stats but don't fancy the look of one of these new armor sets, don't worry, we're now able to open up a customization tab for each armor, and if we put another armor piece into a slot in that tab, the armor piece you're wearing will take the appearance of the one in that slot. Speaking of variety, we're getting more weapons as well, a longbow and a whip. The longbow can be crafted as soon as you unlock Copper Gear, while the whip is locked behind defeating a V-Blood boss. In case you consider this a spoiler, I'll just say that it's an Act 3 boss, so it's not an early game weapon. These are two very fun weapons to use. I think the longbow is a nice alternative to the crossbow. You can either just press M1 to fire an arrow with faster attack speed than the crossbow but a bit lower damage, or you can hold M1 to charge the attack, making it slower than the crossbow bolt but dealing a bit more damage. Every time you hit a target with your M1, you get focus. Focus stacks up to 3 times, and the more focus you have, the more damage you deal with the longbow abilities. Speaking of, its Q ability is a volley of arrows shooting 5 piercing arrows in a cone, dealing damage and knocking enemies back. So it has AoE potential but less reliable than the crossbow Q, since it depends on the angle you shoot it. The E is an arrow that if it hits a target, it bounces back and hits your enemy again and possibly again, I think. For those of you who play Battlerite, this is basically Jumong's EX M2. The whip is technically also a ranged weapon, but with much shorter range than bow and crossbows, however with the attack speed of a melee weapon. The Q is a short dash into a spin attack that damages enemies in a circle around you, and the E is an attack in a straight line that entangles targets that it hits for a while. Once again, the devs have hit a home run with these new weapons. I think the longbow is more fun to play with than the crossbow. I'm not sure which I like best between the longbow or the guns that they introduced in the Gloomrod update. They're both great, and I absolutely love the whip. It's fantastic. On top of that, we're getting more ancient shattered weapons as well, so even more weapon variety. And in order to let us keep playing with a really cool ancient weapon, we'll now be able to upgrade them at the Ancient Forge. So if I craft an ancient weapon from a merciless iron weapon, I can upgrade that weapon to Dark Silver and then Sanguine tier in order to make it stay viable as I progress. But that's not all. There are also new legendary weapons for each type that have even better stats and variations to one of the weapon's abilities. For example, the legendary axe will throw 4 projectiles instead of 2 on its E ability. 1.0 also gives us a brand new spell system. You'll recognize most of the spells. What's new about it is how you acquire them. When you kill a V-Blood boss, you no longer unlock a specific spell. Instead, you get a spell point of one of these different spell schools. These spell points can be of 3 different tiers. The higher tier your spell point is, the more complex and oftentimes powerful spells it can unlock. This is a really cool system in my opinion that offers us much more freedom in terms of what spells we choose to run with. And as if that wasn't enough, we can now build the Altar of Stygian Awakening that we can use to unlock passive abilities. As you might have seen in some of the footage already, now and then healing orbs, like the ones we get when we've taken down a chunk of a boss's HP, will drop from regular enemies. That is thanks to the first tier of the blood magic passives. Another thing that isn't new but changed are the shards. Instead of humongous structures in your castle, they are now equipable items that'll give you buffs and a unique new ultimate ability. There's also a brand new shard dropped by Dracula, and its ult is crazy. You also need to recharge these shards after a while or they will deteriorate and eventually break. The way you do this is by completing rift events in the Ruins of Mordium. I really like this idea. For one, I hope that this will take away emphasis from castle raiding in the later stages of the game. I've personally never enjoyed the raiding. And for late game PvP, I think it's a really neat way to force players and these shards out into the open to places where there will be a lot of other vampires ready to snatch those shards away from you if you can't defend them. These rift events have the potential to become a really messy point of interest for a lot of late game players. Okay, so this is a really cool feature, castle relocation. The way it works is we'll be able to build a new type of castle heart in a location we want to move our castle to. So it still has to be on an available castle plot. Once you place the relocation castle heart, a new build menu opens up where you can see all the structures you have in your original castle, even the walls and the floors. So you place everything you want to move, basically build a new castle. Then you click a button to complete and it all just finalizes in front of you. The things that you didn't move are dismantled into the materials they were constructed from and are put into this new container. It takes a little bit of time, but compared to how moving was before, this is fantastic. Another thing that I absolutely love is the new type of storage. This is a wonderful quality of life addition. Now we're able to build material storage, alchemy storage, tailor storage, gem storage, equipment storage, you get it. And when you open up one of these containers, you can quick transfer all the corresponding items without needing to already have one of each thing in there. When I've been out farming, I just do a quick run by all of my containers and all of my loot is organized by the click of a button per container. It is lovely. On the topic of materials, there are now advanced refining stations, advanced grinders, furnaces, looms, tanneries, and so on. These advanced versions are required for some of the later game materials to be refined. They're a lot bigger, but they refine materials faster and can hold more stuff. And they can do everything that the normal version can do, so you won't need both. As soon as you can, you replace 2 normal stations with 1 advanced and you're a happier vampire than you were before. This might seem like a really small thing, but I do love it. When you place a marker on your map, you don't just see it on the map in the mini-map. You now get a highlighted red line showing the fastest route to your destination. A vampire GPS. As you might have seen, the game will come out on PlayStation sometime later this year. However, the PC version already has support for controller as well. I've tried it a little. It's nice. Naturally, aiming is easier with a keyboard and mouse, and I prefer how much easier it is to control the camera on a keyboard and mouse. On a controller, you can hold down Y or triangle and press one of the shoulder buttons to rotate the camera, or you can just press the Y or the triangle and the camera will line up right behind your character. Kinda like pressing the Z button in Zelda Ocarina of Time. You know, that game that we all played when we were kids, 25 years ago. And finally, the 1.0 version ships with 3 different difficulties: relaxed, normal, and brutal. I haven't had time to try out brutal difficulty yet, but I'm very much looking forward to trying the game with an extra layer of challenge to it once I've completed everything on normal.
And there you have it. As you can see, a lot of stuff has been added to the game. And who knows, there might be more. I'm only human, I might have missed something. If you know that I did, please drop a comment or head to my Discord server and we can talk about it there. There's a link to it in the description. I hope this video helped give you a better picture of everything that's been added to the game. Thank you so much for watching.